Hello everyone. On this video we will look at dividing decimal numbers. Okay, so first we're going to look at rewriting the decimal number. So let's say if you have 15 divided by 3. To use the division bracket, you get your dividend, which in this case would be the 15, and put that under the bracket, and you divide it by the divisor, which is 3. Okay, now the one way I usually do it is I put 15. So if you read 15 divided by 3, I put 15 and I always sound out divided by when I draw the bracket. So if you have 15 divided by 3, it's 15 divided by 3. And that's how I remember it. Okay, so let's look at the steps involved. Okay, so step 1. And remember, if you're still writing this up here, feel free to pause it. Step 1, if necessary, rewrite the problem using the division bracket. So in other words, convert it from here to here if it's not already written that way. Okay, step 2, you want to move the decimal point of the divisor, which is your outside number, if it has one, until it becomes a whole number. Okay, so here if you had 0.3, you'd move the decimal over once until it becomes 3. Okay, third step, you want to move the decimal point of the dividend, which is the number underneath the bracket, the same number of points to the right as step 2. Okay, and then you want to divide normally. Okay, so when you finally move your decimal on step 3, you want to move that decimal straight up. So I'm going to move this down for a second. Move that decimal straight up above the division bracket to the quotient. Okay. Now, if necessary, only if it's necessary, you want to add decimal digit zeros to your dividend. And this way, you can reach the desired number of digits. So let's say if you want, to the nearest tenths or hundreds or thousands or the closest significant digit or something like that, then you can just add point zeros or add zeros to your dividend in order to achieve that. Right? Only if it's necessary. Okay, so if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and jump to our first example. Okay, so we have 49.896 divided by 27. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and divide that. Okay, so remember your first step. 49.896 divided by 27. We're going to rewrite that underneath it. So this will be, remember, 49.896 divided by 27 is 49.896 divided by 27. All right. So now what you want to notice is your second step is you want to move the decimal of your value on the outside of the bracket over until it's a whole number. Because this is already a whole number, we don't have to move any decimals. So this stays the same. Which means if this has no decimals that needs to be moved, neither does this. Okay? So you also get your decimal and you run it straight up. That's a little arrow, which means it goes right there. Let me erase that arrow so it's not in the way. Oops, let me clean that up a little bit more. All right, so now we just divide as always. Okay, so 27 goes into 49 once. 27 times 1 is 27. We subtract. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 2 is 2. We bring down our 8. 27 goes into 228 8 times. Okay, 27 times 8 is 228. Oh, 216, sorry about that. We subtract. 8 minus 6 is 2. 2 minus 1 is 1. We bring down the 9. 27 goes into 129 4 times. 27 times 4 is 108. 9 minus 8 is 1. 2 minus 0 is 2. We bring down our 6. Okay, 27 goes into 216 8 times. 27 times 8 is 216, which gives us a remainder of 0. Okay, so that means 49.896 divided by 27 is equal to 1.848. All right, so if you are still writing this, feel free to press pause. But we're going to go ahead and move on to our next couple of examples. All right, so we have 1.38 divided by 2.4. Okay, so what I want you to do is just give it a try using the steps. Okay, so go ahead and press pause and give that a try on your own. All right, so I'm assuming you pressed pause and worked it out. So let us go ahead and verify your answer. Okay, so we have 1.38 divided by 2.4. So that's 1.38 divided by 2.4. Okay, so now we have a decimal number out here. Remember, the number on the outside has to be a whole number. So we're going to move that decimal once to the right. So instead of 2.4, we now have 24 on the outside of the division bracket. So since we moved it once out here, we move it once in here too. So instead of 1.38, we have 13.8. Okay, so we just moved it from behind the 1 to behind the 3 because we only moved it once here. We move it once here. Okay, and we get our decimal, and we move that straight up. Okay, so now we just divide this like normal. Okay, so 24 goes into 13. It doesn't, so we put a 0 there. 24 goes into 138 5 times. 24 times 5 is 120. And we go ahead and subtract. 8 minus 0 is 8. 3 minus 2 is 1. Okay, so because we don't have a remainder of 0, and we want a few more decimal places, we go ahead and add a 0 here. And we bring that down. Okay, remember, 138 or 13.8 is the same as 13.80, so you're good there. So we go ahead and add a 0, and we bring that down. 24 goes into 180 7 times. 24 times 7 is 168. Okay, so we have to borrow here because we can't do 0 minus 8, so we make that a 7, and that becomes 10. 10 minus 8 is 2. 7 minus 6 is 1, and we're going to add another 0 because we don't have a remainder of 0 here. It makes that 120. 24 goes into 120 5 times. 24 times 5 is 120, so we have our remainder of 0. Okay, so that tells us that 1.38 divided by 2.4 is equal to 0.575. All right, so let's go ahead and move up. So we have 3 divided by 4. So using this same technique up here of adding the zeros after the decimal point, I want you to go ahead and press pause and try to work this one out on your own. Excuse me. All right, so I'm assuming you've already worked this one out. So remember, 3 is the same as 3.0, it's the same as 3.00, and it keeps on going and going and going. As long as you add decimal digits of 0, it'll be the same thing. All right, so we know that 3 divided by 4 will become 3, remember, divided by 4. Okay, but instead of 3, we're going to make this 3.0. Which is the same value. Remember, 3 is equal to 3.0. And we're going to move our decimal up. Let me slide this up a little bit. All right, so 4 goes into 30. Well, 4 doesn't go into 3, so we put a 0 there. 4 goes into 30 7 times. 4 times 7 is 28. 30 minus 28 is 2. Okay, so our remainder isn't 0, so we're going to go ahead and add another 0 there and bring that down. 4 goes to 20 5 times. 4 times 5 is 20, and remainder of 0. So we know that 3 divided by 4 is equal to 0.75. And again, if you want to plug that into a calculator to double check it, you can. All right, so if you are still writing, feel free to press pause, but we're going to go ahead and do one more example. Okay, so you have 273.6 divided by 0.057. All right, so I want you to press pause and go ahead and try that one on your own. Alright, so assuming you've pressed pause and worked this out, so let's go ahead and verify. Okay, so you have 273.6 divided by 0.057. We rewrite it using the brackets. It's 200 and, let me move this over just a hair. Yeah, wrong space. There we go. 273.6 divided by 0.057. Okay, didn't want to have it too close to the edge there. Okay, so what we're going to do is we want to have this outside number as a whole number. So we have to move this to the right 1, 2, 3 spaces. Okay, so 0057 is just 57 when you move the decimal all the way to the right. So since we move it 3 spaces here, we move it 3 spaces here. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we just fill that the spaces there with zeros. So we have 273,600. And the decimal is right on the end after we moved it. So we go ahead and move that right up there. And we go ahead and we start our division. Okay. So 57 goes into, it doesn't go into 2, doesn't go into 27, but it does go into 273. 57 goes into 273 4 times. 57 times 4 is 228. So we go ahead and subtract that. Okay, so we borrow 1. 13 minus 8 is 5. 6 minus 2 is 4. We go ahead and bring down our 6. Okay, so 57 goes into 456 8 times. 57 times 8 is 456. Subtract that and you get 0. Now, we still have zeros in our whole number. Okay, so that's why if you notice I put everything above the value that we brought down. So if we bring down this 0, 57 goes into 0 0 times. Bring down this one, 57 goes into 0 0 times. Okay, now once we reach our decimal point, we can stop. We don't have to keep going. But even if you did, if you put a 0 here, it would just be 4,800.000, just keep on going. So that's why we stopped at the decimal point, because it wouldn't change the value at all. Okay, so you have 273.6 divided by 0.057 is equal to 4,800. Okay, and that is how you divide using decimals. Alright, so hopefully this video made sense, and I will see you on the next video.